she's
Om Satgurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sarvopanishado Gavo Doktha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Duktham Gita Amritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Thank you, Saiji. I appreciate it. And today, by the way, some of you might know that in United States, it is celebrated as a Father's Day. So for fathers who are on this trip, and for your own fathers, my pranams, and hope your experience today and your own reflections on both your parenthood and your father is something that is meaningful, and that brings certain respect and certain love and certain commitment in your hearts as we go forward. Before we get deep into Dhyana Yoga, the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, because this chapter is, if you were to really look at, it is about practice of meditation to achieve self-realization and the unity with the divine. There is a lot of similarities between the 6th chapter and Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And in some respects, if you look at, because in the 6th chapter, he begins with talking about self-discipline, balanced life, practice of meditation, control of the mind, identifying what is the supreme goal, how do we approach it with equanimity, and seeking the divine unity. If you look at it, these are 7, themes that are covered in this chapter, and they connect with starting with yamas and niyamas, which are connected with the self-discipline, and then breath control and asanas, then meditation practice, before that pranayama, and then the way the order is a little different. Pranayama and pratyahara, and then dhyana dharana. When you look at, the orders are a little way differently in which he presents it, but there is a lot of similarities. Now, because this is about action and how we can apply Gita in action, I just want you to reflect on, before we get into the groups, how are you in self-discipline? In your family, in your workplace, in this project, how well are you able to practice a certain amount of discipline in these areas? Just reflect on it for a little bit. Because if I reflect on it, I find this is the area where I struggle the most. Self-discipline is the one that I have large amount of difficulty, because I am in the moment. I am always in the moment. But how to get into the moment, how to get out of the moment is something which I'm struggling to develop certain self-discipline. But I find when I consciously wake up at a certain time, when I consciously say, these are some things I do before I engage with other things, I finish my meditation, I finish my bath, or I do prayer, I eat my breakfast, or I check my blood sugar. Like that, if I drink 3 glasses of water, if I have certain disciplined way, then my day goes in a beautiful way. It is easier for me to get into a flow of whatever is happening in my day. But if I have meetings early morning, sometimes I stay up very late. So one day I wake up at 6 o'clock, one day I wake up at 7 o'clock, one day I wake up at 8 o'clock, and I sleep 12, 1, 2, like that. Then I find my life becomes unpredictable. So the self-discipline, which is the first area, that affects my second area, that balanced life. How do I have the balanced life? Because this chapter is all about how do we live our life as a yogi, the yogic way of living. What is the prescription for being a yogi in a day-to-day life? That is what 6th chapter is all about, as you can probably point out. So when, 2nd chapter he says yogastha kuru karmani, right? So how do we do that? Before we can get to meditation, we need to get certain asanas and certain pranayamas and certain pratyaharas in place before we can get to dhyana. Some of you, for example, I cannot talk about your home, I cannot talk about your work, but what I am noticing in here is some of you are extraordinarily disciplined to make sure your reflections on the chapter are being put in the week after week, you put it on LinkedIn. And some of you put it very early, some of you put it late. But when you put it early, it looks like other people read it, other people reflect on, they comment on, they get inspired, and they do this. So some of you are actually practicing what is said in the 3rd chapter and 4th chapter. How you do that and how it can inspire other people to do that. You are being a leaders in this group already. Some of you are also kind of leaders of the small groups, 8 groups that we have designed, and some of you are putting the meeting notes regularly. Some of you are not yet putting your notes, let alone writing the comments on it. So you might want to look at it and say, the discipline that I have, because you have taken on a sacred role as a team leader, you are playing a sacred role. We are all doing our Gita. We are asking Krishna to tell us, by reading Gita chapter after chapter, in the life that I live, called my own Kurukshetra, being Arjuna in this context, because Arjuna has been a great man, as well as he has also been Sikandi to a certain extent. He has been a person who lived both, like Bruhannala, right? His name in the other one. So he was a guy who played man's role and as well as the woman's role, if you want to call. So we can call, whether you are a man or a woman, you can consider yourself to be an Arjuna. What is so far 6 chapters, as you read it, as you reflected on, what are you getting so far? Because you have completed the 1/3 of the Gita. If somebody said Tattvamasi, if you are looking at it, the Tvam part of it is addressed in the first 6 chapters. So who are you? Who are you being? Where do you need the self-discipline? Where do you need to become a better and an extraordinary leader? Where do you need to control your mind? What is the goal of you participating in this project? What is the supreme goal? If you want to bring Bhagavad Gita into your life, some of you are reading it, some of you are practicing it, some of you are writing about it, some of you are reading what other people have written, some of you are applying it in multiple areas, some of you are sharing with other people. When you are doing some of it, it would be very powerful to keep reflecting on, am I being equanimous? Am I doing things with samabuddhi? Am I operating from a sattvic state of mind? Chances are, some of the times you are, some of the times you are not. Same thing with me. The key part is, if I truly want to operate from an equanimity, I should not beat myself up. I should not get into guilt, pride, and shame that I could not do this. I got angry. I got upset. Will not help us. Okay. At that time, that is what it is. How do I come to the equanimity faster next time? How can I apologize if I've been angry or upset with somebody, and then come to a way of bringing equanimity into next step and move to the next stage of my own balance? How can I be more sattvic instead of being tamasic or rajasic? If you can begin to think about those, and if you can look at how do you inspire? Are you being a leader in this project? And also, what does it mean for you to be a leader in this, our Gita project? If you are a team leader, are you connecting with people? Are you inspiring other people through your behavior? Are you able to create, a session outside of this session? Maybe those are some things, if they inspire you, if they speak to you, you might want to do that. That way, it'll take it. And some of the readings I used to really get inspired by, but I'm not able to see them this time. For example, Jitendra ji, Anant ji, Vikram ji, I haven't seen your reflections on chapter 6. I was really looking for what your insights are. Sagar ji also did not have a chance to write, I think. So more you do, like Swapnalekha also, like for example, why am I asking is, I'm not pointing that you didn't write, it is wrong with of you. No, I'm saying I look for reading many of your writings, and I would very much appreciate if you guys can take some time to share your thoughts, because I get inspired by them. Ramanji, you too. So if you can begin to
I
think
have
about,
written, sir.
I'm
I
sorry.
have written. Yesterday, I have put, sir.
You have put,
Yesterday,
I'll check that out. Yes, I'll read that then. I have missed it somehow. Then I will read that. Some of you, I think Saplalekha ji also probably wrote, but I'll check that. Maybe only thing is, for my request is, if you guys can write early, because I'm in the other part of the world. You are in India. And so your mornings are my evenings, my mornings are your evenings. So sometimes I am missing, especially right now. I'm in a conference in Atlanta called Dharma in Digital Age. So there are sessions going on in the next room. I took one classroom for myself, and I'm sitting in the classroom and then doing the session. After this, I'll go back into the full conference. So I'm missing some of them. So my request is, for my sake, if you guys can write early, if you can think about some of it, and also put the notes from these sessions. Some of you have done it. Some of you did not, probably too many things on your plate, and you did not put that in. If you guys can put it, we will have a documentation. Third and the last request. In your groups, some of the groups, if you notice, are not happening. Some of the groups are very active. We had, on the Wednesday, we had a few people. Rashmi was there. Rashmi brought up a question about youth and mental health, and how do we influence youth in the context of they being healthy they being creative, they being more productive, and unleashing their full divine potential in them. What does it take? We had a very deep and meaningful conversation with Rashmi and some of you. If you have not looked at it, you might want to check out that video where we went deep into looking at. As a matter of fact, that Wednesday conversation was so influential. Even in this Dharma in Digital Age conference, I'd been talking about, and I met two people, Dr. Aruna Tumala, who is in the Milwaukee in United States area, who is a psychiatrist and who works with youth, and she also works with Ayurveda. Instead of doing practice of psychiatry, she gave up and she is working with functional medicine and Ayurveda. She said she would like to get involved in the youth and mental health type of thing. And then one Dr. Ashish Pandey, who is a professor in IIT Bombay and who works on some of things. He said there is a large amount of data on youth and mental health. And so when one class he is teaching on Panchakosha, this one, 10,000 people are taking from around the world. It is called a MOOC, large multi-person, all kinds of things. He has some data. I think he said he will be happy to make it available to us. And he also works on some of the Gita and spiritual stuff in there. So because one of you have taken a lead and looked at youth from a mental health and well-being perspective, so that has a chance of becoming a very good research project. Book and videos can come out of it. I'm curious, who are the other people? If you are working on self-development, if you are working on communication, relationships, leadership, career development, women's issues, any of them, where are you? What are your teams doing? What are your insights? How are you collecting various things? Are you working on some YouTube video, or are you working on some chapter, a book, an article? It would be very interesting to see what is happening in that. And the second thing is, it will be very important and interesting if you can think about where are you applying this Our Gita project in your life. How is that being affected? Think about it. Don't do this as a outside of life. The whole idea of Our Gita is to make this part of your life. How is working in this project affecting your work and your life day to day? I think that would be very important for you to think about and write some reflections on some of that also. If your project is separated from everything you have in your plate, this becomes extra work to be done. Right? So think about it. And we have another session again on Wednesday, same time as today, same whatever you are attending, same Zoom session. If you want to log in on Wednesday, I look forward to seeing you, answering some questions, looking at what projects you are taking on. By the way, sometimes you may take on a project. I'm very excited about it. I do not know who wants to participate. I'm going to take this on. And if any of you want to join, you can join. That also is a way to invite people. All right. So as we complete the first 6 chapters, get in 1/3 is complete. So I'm kind of provoking you and requesting you and challenging you to see how you can integrate this into whatever actions that are going on in your life and see whether this can guide your life, and out of that you can contribute to other people. All right, that's what I have. Any comments or questions? Anything you want to take on, or shall we go into small groups?
I can only say Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna to everyone. I just want to say that yes, my discipline is not, I'm not very disciplined that way. And probably I'm, I try, but I again go into the loop of in the student syndrome. do it at the end. So that is where I miss posting, and I also miss some sections at times. But at the same time, my journey has been very good, and probably I'm becoming a calmer person.
Wonderful.
And in fact, I had not much, but some issues with my neighbor upstairs. But I have been letting go and trying to be equanimous. Okay, let it happen what he's doing. So that has made me a bit quieter. And there have been instances, and the sixth chapter has raised a lot many questions in me, because it's asking to, before meditation you have to do a lot of things, as you have already articulated. So I was very slow in reading this chapter, because contemplating, reflecting on what chapter 6 is saying and what I'm doing, and then again, so in my group I'm going to talk about it, but I wanted to just pitch in and share my part of it. That okay, what you said is very practical and very apt, that discipline part is very important. The yajna part of which has been talked in early chapters is which we have to get burned through, but we are not, at least I'm not, I cannot say for everyone, but at least I am not being able to fully into the yajna part. So that I am going to practice more, and let's see what happens. थोड़ा सा डर भी लग रहा है अभी, because चैप्टर 6 जो करने को बोला है, अभी तक कुछ पार्ट, बहुत ही छोटा पार्ट कर पाए हैं अभी तक. Okay.
Thank you. So how about this, Jitendra ji? I will also take on self-discipline for this 1 week.
Yes.
I will. So you take on self-discipline because you are taking on, I'm taking on. So I'll be your partner, and I will, what you call, try to practice a certain way, whether I can bring more discipline into my life than I have done. So
Yes.
Maybe we can share our notes later and see how much we have progressed. Okay.
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
be your learning partner.
Yeah, thanks. You will be my guru and guide.
Sure, we'll learn together.
Yeah, sure.
Like yesterday, I went to a PAPS, that Swaminarayan temple here.
Mm.
There, when you go there to the temple, they have two vigrahas.
Mm.
One is the teacher, Parabrahma, then Akshara Parabrahma. There are two people always. One, the teacher and the student actually stay together. And both of them are worshipped.
Mm.
So, same way, we think about it and say we are both the same. Because if the teacher begins to learn from the student becomes the teacher for themselves. And it's the same thing. So, the student is the one who makes the teacher a teacher. But a teacher, when he becomes truly a student, can be a teacher. So, it is what you call both are interdependent and necessary.
Mm.
So we'll learn from each other. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. So think about it, each of you, because we need to take on. Nobody else is out there. It is just you and me. Are you willing to take on whatever is on your plate in your life, and let Krishna teach you what he can? If we allow it, he will teach. Being a physicist, I can tell you, all great physicists, especially people who have worked on quantum mechanics, nuclear work, any of them, they all said at most important times in their life, only book that helped was not physics, but Bhagavad Gita. And many of them were not even Indian. They said Bhagavad Gita seems to give solutions to all the issues that they have on their plate. So if people around the world in time eternal, if they have done it, how do we get Bhagavad Gita to guide us? Especially in this dhyana, let us meditate and let us figure out a way to take it forward. All right. So I have one question which based on this, we can take it forward, maybe as a question to reflect on. How can we practice self-discipline and meditation as you have discussed in the chapter to enhance your effectiveness and well-being in whatever area of life that you are discussing? Consider the unique challenges and opportunities in your area and in your life and discuss them and come back. And before that, I have a small request by Suresh Srinivas, who is not there today, but he told us one thing that will be useful. In your groups, it seems some people have a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and you have written books, or you are a professor, or you have done something. And there are some people who are approaching Gita for the first time. If there is a way in which both of you can learn from each other, just like I mentioned, the teacher and the taught, Krishna and Arjuna, when you look at, Naranarayanas, they are called. Both of them will fulfill the role of other person. If you can spread your wisdom and your curiosity, as well as if you can learn from other people's wisdom, then chances are our groups can have a lot more fulfilling time. All right. So thank you very much. Now you can get into the groups and then we'll chat afterwards.
But
Wonderful. Yeah, Arvindoji, you have a hand up.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I just want to summarize so that we had a very good discussion on self-development and we reflected off of each other. Shall I start?
Please.
Okay. Namaskar, Prasadji, and namaskar to everybody. My 3 minutes start now. I made a quick notes of what our team discussed on self-development point. It is the monkey mind, and monkey mind keeps jumping and it's restless, and controlling your mind in a very slow and peaceful manner. That's what I was talking about. Shanai Shanai Uparamatu, Dhire Dhire Se, make your mind your friend. And you are your own friend and you are your own biggest enemy. As in, as you think, as your mind thinks, as your mind takes you, either it can take you to the heights of success, or it can make you the biggest failure as well. So your mind is your own best friend, and at the same time, your mind is your own biggest enemy as well. It is very challenging to be disciplined, as all the group members agreed on that. And discipline is tough one, and to initiate and to sustain and to maintain as well. Then we talked about different meditations that people follow, meditation techniques and everything else. Sagarji and I, both of us have completed the 10 days Vipassana course of the Vipassana Foundation. It was very tough initially, but then again we overcame that to be cut off from everybody else and everything else. We discussed on that, and also I do follow transcendental meditation of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi. I learned it about 30 years ago. I still do that, and ever since this course started 6 weeks ago, I've been doing it every day, 20 minutes, like I mentioned. And so it is very difficult or challenging to be disciplined in life, and attachment to the sense organs. And when we say attachment to the sense organs, it's not only about we're talking of lust or sexual sensual pleasures, but other than that, our five sense organs also have a kind of a mind of their own, and they see what they want to see, not what you want to see. They want to hear what they want to hear. They want to smell, they want to taste, they want to touch and feel what they want to, not necessarily what you want to. So this is that attachment which keeps dragging us back and dragging us down in terms of moving us away from our discipline. And how do you bring discipline back? Through practice and discipline. Then Sakshiji mentioned about self-discipline, self-development, self-reflection, self-introspection, self-focus, and self-control. Though they are synonymous to each other, they are together, yet they are slightly different. That is the main takeaway of this chapter of Atma Samyama Yoga or Jnana Yoga. And we need to cultivate a sense of detachment, not just, kindly cut it off, because that's not possible. And being mindful and keep improving ourselves. And as much as we do, we will get the fruits accordingly. And even if we cannot complete it, that is still fine. But keep your abhyas on. And that is the reason why Sri Krishna calls, throughout the Gita, that abhyasa also is a yoga, and it's abhyasa yoga. My 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arabindoji. As you brought in very important points regarding different kinds of meditation, different kinds of self-control, and different kinds of mind control can be used. But the key it comes down to is what are we using? And what is working? So transcendental meditation, it worked for some time, it didn't work for some time. You go to Vipassana, anicca, anicca, anicca. Okay, good. And then something works, something doesn't work. For same person, different meditation techniques might work at different times. Or for different people, whether it is Sudarshana Kriya, whether it is what you call Jaggi Vasudev, approach.
Inner engineering.
Inner engineering techniques, or whether it is Maharshi Mahesh Yogi's transcendental meditation, whether it is a mantra meditation, whether it is a, Vipassana meditation, different things that might be. But the key part which you might want to look at is, even in Gita, there are different kinds of meditation techniques that are developed, and Yoga Sutras develop how to achieve dhyana. They're there. You might want to look at it and say, what are the conditions under which the meditation is effective for you? And what are the conditions under which you are even willing to engage in meditation? And what are the kind of resistance, or what are the kind of experiences that make you feel this is not working, I'm giving up, I'm not going to do it? When is that mind is raising those objections? Because all of them, as we said, in the Atma Samyama Yoga, before you get to Atma, in some of the Upanishads, there are many Upanishads that talk about it, but Taittiriya gets into what is called Panchakosha Prakaranam. The idea of the body, Annamaya Kosham, they're called. So at the body level, what am I controlling? I cannot control my mind, which is subtle, until I can control which is grosser than the mind. Which is grosser than the mind is my breath. Grosser than the breath is my words, my talking sometimes. And that is connected with my body. Somebody put it beautifully. Like they said, if you, I think they reminded me, I think if I remember, first time I heard that was from Shashi Anantanarayan, Raghu's wife, Raghu Anantanarayan's wife. I think she said the mouth is the door to the body. Why? Because we put all kinds of food into our mouth without thinking about it. Or our mouth actually says things before we thought that through. So what goes in and what comes out of our body is connected, even though there are karmendriyas, there are 5. But when we talk about body's health, it is much of our health is connected with what we put into our mouth and what we say. The one leads to anxiety and emotional disturbance. one leads to physical disturbances. So to a certain extent, meditation that we do, first, if you want to control the subtle mind, we have to control the breath. That is what Vipassana focuses a lot more, called Anapana meditation. Because can you use your breath as a tool to scan your mind, scan what's going on? And if you have to use your breath and you have to notice the changes in your breath, you need to keep your body steady. If your body is constantly moving, I'm jittery, I'm like moving this pen up and down when I'm doing, or I'm doing this, or I'm checking this, I'm not able to sit quietly. The subtle breath movements are not observed because the grosser body movements are actually much more disturbing. So control the body so that you can pay attention to your breath. Control your breath, which is what we call pranayama. Pranayama. When you can control your breath, you can pay attention to what's going on in the mind. Then through pratyahara, you control your senses, bring them from going all over all the objects that the mind is going, bring them pratyahara, withdraw the food from them so that they will come. Then you concentrate, dharana. At that time, dhyana will be very effective. Here, that means before I can control my mind or control my breath or control my body, I need to control my relationship with each other. Why? My body does not operate independent of what's happening in the universe. Even though it is very easy to look at this 6th chapter to mean it's all about an individual operating, the Atma Samyamam. So the same Atma, I might call my Jivatma connected by my vasanas and samskaras to be mine, fine. But all of us, like right now, there are a few people, there are 19 people in the group. So in the 19 people we are all focused on one topic. You are listening to me at this moment. So that means at some level, I'm influencing you, you are influencing me, other people are also influencing each other. We have created a kshetra, we have created a field. What we are doing is a yagna, because we are focusing on something larger than what I want or what you want. So if we are looking at it, that means you affect me, I affect you, and our intention and our universe affects each other. That means we are always part of a larger kshetra. That is what you can call it. You are a system. You are a small system, part of a larger system, part of a larger system. That's why in 2nd chapter, the whole thing, when he discusses the, what you call Yamani, when he discusses the anger, kama and krodha, he first says, Sangat sanjayate kama. Where does the desire come about? It comes from the sangha that you keep. And that sangha is the field in which we operate. What field are you operating? And that controls your mind, your body, your breath, and also your Atman, what is coming and going. So, even though 6th chapter, we can look at this as, body control, breath control, desire control, meditation, all of it, we need to do it together. We need to do it like, how are your conversations in the small group? Okay. So by the way, we are having team leaders reporting week after week. There are people in the room who have talked, but they are not reporting. Maybe, some of you might want to look at and say, hey, instead of I reporting week after week after week, I'm the team leader, but I want to see whether I can give a chance to other people in my group. How will they report out that? Or somebody else will write the notes. Somebody else will report. Somebody else is a team leader. What if we actually begin to switch and see how we all participate and how we all contribute to each other. If we can begin to think about how are you affecting me and how am I affecting you, and how is the universe affecting both of us, if we keep that in mind, it is easier to get to samyamam. The samyamam is a very important part. Actually, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Samyamam is something that begins to take place, in those three, which are what are called antaranga yoga. Bahiranga yoga is the first 5 in Yoga Sutras. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. These are all about, by the way, just doing Bahiranga yoga, many of them will become sadhus. They actually develop access to, according to Yoga Sutras, you get some Ashtasiddhis are available just by doing Bahiranga yoga, without doing any Antaranga yoga at all, with a serious one, because you're doing something a lot bigger on controlling your environment, your relationship with the environment, your body, your breath, your indriyas. You are able to do that. Then comes the next and next step. Okay. So I just thought, this is something connected with all of this chapter, but because Aurobindo ji triggered it, so I'm just saying this, we'll take it forward. Sir, Kiran ji.
Yeah, I think we had an excellent interaction today in the group. We focused on certain specific words like anashrita, jitatmana, prashantasya, samaloshtrashma kanchana, buddhigrahya matindriyam initially. I think it was incidental that the whole thing started with anashrita, because I have been reflecting on that a lot, and I was the last one to speak. So it was a great thing that that word attracted so much of attention, and the importance of not being ashrita. Why it is so important for a leader, both in terms of the one, making the team not dependent on the leader, and also not depending only on the results. Why it is so important? This group is on leadership, so we try to see how the leadership lessons can come from here. So why the importance of ashrita? When you are dependent, you lose confidence, and then if the team is dependent on you, your team loses confidence if you're not available. So becoming independent of results, becoming independent of other things is an important thing. And a very good example came up is how Krishna himself offered himself a passive player in the war, and made Arjuna kind of anashrita in a way, because he has to now became made him independent, which I think is a great lesson for leaders who lead teams, how they can do that. And also the discussion of the yoga, all the yoga practice, how a practitioner of yoga can be a great leader, because he becomes more compassionate, he becomes connected to the team, he can be more vulnerable, he can present more easily, this is what I am thinking, what is that you are thinking, kind of thing. So more compassionate leader. Yeah, so these were some points. The other aspect that came up when Bikramji asked a question, that why am I not being as disciplined as I would want to be, because there are so many things happen. It kind of pivoted into a slightly different direction, where we discussed about the gap between what I ideally want to be and what I think I am currently, which normally causes a stress, and how we can convert it to a tension so that we actually go to that, travel towards that ideal self kind of thing. Instead of going on to a guilt trip, being compassionate, becoming the Atma Bandhu, becoming the friend, being compassionate to yourself, how it can not only help you, but also everyone around you. Because once you are compassionate, the truth will come out, the facts will come out, and everyone is looking at actions, not trying to blame it on people, the results particularly. I think the other, I mean, at least the another major reflection on anashrita karma phalam is the moment that this actually is like a bridge from karma yoga to dhyana, jnana yoga also, and sannyasa yoga also, because that particular verse, first verse, we did not go so much into meditation, but we spent a lot of time on this and Atma Bandhu part, because this seemed very, very important. So how it can remove the binding that we have as individuals and also as leaders and various roles, and therefore the focus is on the action rather than on the results. It's not being result oriented. The result is required. There is a direction, but focusing on the action rather than the result is makes it more internal dependent rather than external dependent. The more internal I go, the more free I become, the more balanced I become, and therefore more abiding I can be in what I think is the ideal. So that journey on a day, I mean, that reflecting what is causing the disturbance in me, whether for 10 minutes or 1 minute or one instance, is what we agreed that is a way to progress and mature towards a leader for yourself and leaders for whatever context you are in. And this ultimately leads to that yadidacharati sreshtaha, because if you are doing good, without saying you are becoming leader, you're like influencing without title or authority will automatically happen. So this is what we discussed. It was a great experience. Thank you for all the team members who are there in that. That's all.
I love the way in which you started with Anasrita and looked at the words. As a matter of fact, paying attention like that to words and phrases that attract our attention will connect to our DNA. Actually, those are the things Arjuna is speaking to you. Those are the bricks that he is dropping in your consciousness, because subtle awareness is not coming. So he's paying attention, looking at etymology. What does it mean? Where am I asrita? Who is giving me that asrayam? And what are we doing? And all of it. It is wonderful. So the way in which you are addressing and approaching some of this will give you a lot more. And the whole idea of leader, because the most effective way of being a leader to somebody is first lead myself. To lead myself, I need to believe in myself. To believe in myself, I need to have a compassion for myself. Before I can have a compassion for myself, I need to accept myself. And to accept myself, I need to know who I am. See, Bhagavad Gita is a fantastic leadership manual. Any chapter, especially this chapter, you can look at it and say, if I can have more control over what I say, what I do, what I eat, what I communicate. Second, how do I communicate? Is it through Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha? If I bring Yoga Sutras, because somehow today, because this is a chapter about being a yogi, I'm trying to refer a lot more to Yoga Sutras. Second is bringing self-control. To the extent I can control myself, I influence other people. Influencing, getting them into the flow that I am operating from, requires me to get into the flow that they are operating from. So to be a leader, I have to have self-control, I have to have mind control, and then I have to be in a meditative state of listening. I need to be a sattvic leader. When I come from, like, Nitya Sattvotsavo Bhava Arjuna. That's what I think he says in second chapter. Or in third chapter, he says, I don't have to do any of this stuff, but I do it because whatever leaders do, other people will do it. Because people are watching me, by my doing it, I am actually giving other people opportunity to do it themselves. If Krishna does it, what is problem in me doing it? That is coming up. So you brought some very important points. Thank you for that. Santosh ji.
Yeah, thank you. So our group was a small group of 3 people, and it was a mixture of both career development as well as communication. The key thing that came out in the rich conversation that we had was it goes down to controlling your mind, being disciplined, and the more disciplined and focused you are, it makes it better for you, whether it is in career development, whether it is in communication, because when the mind is clear, then your communication is clear, it's authentic, there's self-discipline that comes in what you're doing, and that will then make sure that you are focused on what you want to get. If your mind is scattered, cluttered, then you don't know what you're saying. And goes back to what you were saying, your mouth is the one that is both the entry point that is there. So if your mind is not clear and centered, then what you're saying, you yourself don't know. So the words leave your mouth before your mind has really processed in terms of, is this what I want to say or not? And that can then come back to hit you in your career also, because maybe you say something that you don't want to say in the context where it should not be said, and that will always be held against you. So so we had conversation around that and around what can we do to sort of control the mind, where Anand brought up in terms of what he's been doing, which is yoga nidra and doing meditation, and how can we slowly, when we look at ourselves, we take small steps to be disciplined, right? It's not that one day you're not indisciplined and the next day you're fully disciplined. That is not going to happen overnight. So take those small baby steps on a day-to-day basis, and as long as you keep doing that repeatedly, then that discipline will actually get built in, and we will sort of get to where we think we want to go. So I think that was the gist of what we had from covering both career development and communication.
Beautiful. Two thoughts come to my mind. The effect, or if you want to really communicate effectively and grow in our career, both are connected with each other. It is the state of mind with which we engage in conversation. Of course, sometimes people simplify it as your listening and the quality of your listening is the one that actually makes other people feel that whatever they say, they have to focus. Like somebody said it in a movie, I remember. He said, if you are looking at me with such a admiration, and if you are looking at me with so much of love, and if you believe in me so much that I will do the right thing, I don't have a choice to do anything other than what you are expecting me. Because you are creating a field, and that field of love, that field of admiration, and that field of listening is so great. I have to expand myself to speak into that gap that you have created. That is what it means when people say your listening creates an opening for other people to speak effectively. And this kind of a listening, this ability to pay attention to and having certain experience, certain trust, certain admiration, opens the other person up. By the way, when you do this in this state, your interviews, when you do in this state, your presentations, when you meet your boss, in this state, each time you meet, whether it is for review or whether it is for team meetings or something else, your career is definitely going to go up, because you are not coming from a place of, oh, if I don't say the right thing, I will lose the job. Or if I am anxious about what will happen. So most of us don't become successful, don't become something else. Like, Atul put it in the comment saying, knowing myself is very important. Actually, to know yourself, first you have to start from what Krishnaji said. You are not your body, you are not your mind. Later he says, you are not doing anything. I have already fought this war and I killed everybody who needs to kill. But you need to release the arrows from your bow so that you can feel that you have done what you have done. Nimitta matram. You are just doing what is nimittam. But you need to do it. You can't, somebody told this story about in San Francisco. It seems in one area, they were closing a church in a poor area. Why? They could not maintain the church. They could not pay the bishop. They could not take care of all the needs of the community. So they were going to go ahead and close the church and move all these people to nearby church. So the pastor started praying, God, if I can only win a lottery ticket, if I win the lottery, if I can get a lottery ticket and win the lottery, then I will put all the money to make the church really go back, fantastic. So it seems that God showed up in his dream. He said, Pastor, I really want to help you. But you need to go buy a lottery ticket if I need to make you win the lottery. You do your part of buying the lottery ticket, and then I will do the part of making you win. But if you are expecting somebody to, give you the lottery ticket and then make you win, that's not going to happen, because you need to have something at the stake. You put your ass on the line, then I will put my ass on the line. But you are not willing to do your homework. How do you expect me to make you become successful? So listening, career development, all of that is connected to where am I operating from? By the way, if I say, oh, that is terrible, I don't have self-control, who is here and who is not here? Who is doing the work? Who is not doing the work? I always, being a critical person, will look at, who are not here. But Saiji, he was reminding even earlier, saying, let us honor the people who are here. Let us honor the people who are writing on the LinkedIn, who are coming week after week, and who are motivating and leading other people in their team. And let us identify why is that they are doing that. What is it that they are doing? Maybe those are the people who will inspire other people to come to and do what they need to do. But if I try to look at what is wrong with you, I will only see what is wrong. Not only with you, but also with myself, but what everybody else is doing. So the appreciative inquiry, it's a management technique, has come out of some of this kind of a way to say, can I create a space for you to be bigger than you can be in my presence? Of course, it begins with, can I begin to recognize I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this person, I am the spirit in this physical body. I am the consciousness manifesting through this limited body. So I am, aham brahmasmi, as one of the Mahavakyas they say. If I can operate, if I can even begin to believe little bit at a time and operate out of that, then things become very, very easily and practically. Ramanji.
So today I represent education group. There are three of us, Mr. Ramasubramaniam, Rasmiji and me. So for education, we discussed actually in detail. There are a lot of questions how in education, specifically the sixth chapter dealing with meditation can be taught. That is one. And second thing, what are the challenges? Because if you look at currently, there are a lot of problems for education for students, whether they are degree oriented or mark oriented. There are a lot of problems in newspapers. So is the problem at the policy level or at the parent level or at the student level? That also we discussed. The third point is specifically with respect to chapter 6, meditation. And for education also, the self-control and control of mind is paramount. And Prasad what I think actually at the surface level, a mind is being taught to be controlled, but for students, how that can be controlled at the deeper level, and that comes when the transition from the physical self to blissful self happens, as you are saying in the Panchakosha. So for that, for meditation, the prerequisites, as you are saying, like no chitta vritti nirodha, as in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and the start being right, the yama niyama. So yama niyama. So for meditation, the yama part, the niyama part, and also as we say, sila samadhi pragya, the sila part. So how those discipline can be inculcated when one meditates and meditates to control the mind, and that requires purification of mind. Purification of mind. So chitta vritti nirodha and chitta suddhi. So when at the subconscious level also this purification happens, the kind of anxiety all students, be even we are students, right? So irrespective of levels or curriculum, so how the anxiety part can be avoided, the mental issues, mental problems that can be avoided for many of us through meditation. And here the moderation, as explained in the chapter 6, comes into 4, that moderation, Juktahara Viharasya, the 17, Shloka 17. So moderation in food, sometimes students also either they indulge in food or go starving, that doesn't help. Also in recreation, also in sleep, also in actions. So every year to avoid extremes and be moderate, that is the thing. And yoga rudha, if we are saying the 1/3 of the Gita up to 6 chapters, the karma yogi aspect. So each student is also indulged in swadharma. Swadharma is to study, to develop as a complete human being. For a student to remain, to be self-reliant. So for that also, how he can be yoga rudha, yogastha kuru karmani, right? Sangam taktva dhananjaya, siddhya siddhyo samang bhutva, samatvam yoga uchyate. So all these aspects, but Arjuna put very important questions. All these I understand, Sri Krishna, God, but my mind flickers, very difficult to control, it wanders. So God accepts that. He says that it's really a duruha vapar. It's really difficult to control the mind, but he says, Abhyasena tukonteya vairagyana cha guhyate. Sloka 35. So constant practice that is needed, and students are very good at practice because they need to practice to do good win exam. So my discipline, as you are saying right before, so my discipline, how I can have a kind of meditation. If every individual initially in the early morning or whenever he feels times, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, depends. Meditate before that, some purification in terms of right sila, yama, niyama, then realize that till life there will be struggle. So keep persisting, abhyas, and little vairagya in the sense of dispassion, so that you don't get guided by what will happen. Don't have anxiety and fruits. Rather, you have your rights to karma, and with detachment, you desirelessness, you be a karma yogi. So that is the
Thank you,
idea
sir.
in education. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So how, sir, my question, our group question is how we can create modules so that it can be right as part of our Indic wisdom team, how we can, our Gita team, create modules for the benefit of students, irrespective of age and gender, so that they can be taught this aspect, specifically the meditation and other things. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. You have so much of wisdom. It is really impressive. Each time you open your mouth, I learn so much. Thank you for that. And so, maybe, you, Sakshi, some of you who are professors, who are teaching, who are working with students, maybe there are projects, there are some things that you can take on that can be an outcome of our Gita. So maybe you guys can do some research or connect with all the participants and figure out whether there is some kind of a paper or something that can come out, you guys can write. Might want to think about that, in a broader context, because not only two of you, Dr. Arabindo, there are several people here who are experts, who have written books, who are professors, who are teachers, some of them. I would highly encourage you to take on what is emerging, not only from your wisdom that you bring into this group, but out of conversations, out of looking at what's happening, out of whatever we are, all adding to this. Is there something that you can generate? might be another action project, action learning project that if each of you can think about, it will be very good. Okay. Now, so far, if I look at what we have done is all about karma, atma samyama, jnana, we looked at. When we start from chapter 7, the tone changes. The kind of issues that come up changes. The kind of, till we go to 12th chapter, the Bhakti Yoga, Krishna will engage and bring out different kinds of elements that come in. So you might want to prepare for how do I think about, and what did I learn in the first 6 chapters for myself? So I highly recommend some of you might want to write reflections on LinkedIn on not only what you are learning from 7th chapter. Before you read the 7th chapter, I recommend that each of you write so far, summarize what have you taken from 6 chapters and have you applied. Like some of you are already saying, I can see changes in my behavior. I can see changes here. I can see this is what I have learned. This is what I have applied. These are the benefits I am already getting. These are the results that I am already seeing. This is the progress I am on. This is what I have taken on for sadhana. If you can write, maybe we'll ask, Saiji, maybe you or Satya or Krishna, you can put it on as a prompt in WhatsApp as well as in the LinkedIn to say, please give us a progress report on how are you benefiting? Are you getting the value that you intended to get out of being on this project? What are you learning and what would you like to learn going forward from here? What can we do differently? Maybe do we need to organize? And by the way, I am open to having all the team leaders and any of you who are interested. If you want to have another session in addition to this Sunday, in addition to the Wednesday, if you want to have more sessions on any topics, or if you want me to have group discussions with your group alone, separately from this, I'm open to any and all of those. I'm willing to commit as much time as you guys want to see that this Gita in action actually produces significant actions as well as outcomes for your lives. So for that, I am at your service. Okay, that's all what I want to keep in mind. I want to say so that you keep in mind, where am I so far in this project? Where do I want to go in the next part? What do I want to take on more? What project do I want to take on? And what project I want to continue? What project I want to stop in my life? So think about start, change, stop going forward. It will be very, very, powerful, because there's those kinds of reflections and a midlife, mid project, not midlife. I'm beyond the midlife at this moment, but mid project corrections, if you want to think about, do that. And with that, unless you have any specific questions, you can stay back. But the formal session, I'd like to close, and we'll have an invocation and then take it forward after the invocation with any questions and answers. Thank you. Saiji.
सर्वेषां सुस्थिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you.
Other
I
as
will
well, I would like to have your comment also. If others can say that yes, they're also having feeling, but this is my feeling, as you told earlier, that hey, what we are learning, where we want to go, what is a gap, and all those things. So
I'll make my comment.
yes, sir.
One thing I found is anything very influencing, powerful, or inspirational, once I get exposed to it, there are lots of things that I didn't even pay attention to. They come to my forefront. Because what these do is what I am unaware of, they become aware. What are incomplete show up in front as confusions or lack of completion. And if I pick them up and work on it, then I will have more space in my life and more clarity in my life. So several times it is a very good sign that you are making progress beyond your comfort zone. More you come out of comfort zone, you will always have something become clear. But as soon as this becomes clear, it is like a, think about it like a, I have bifocals. I mean, of course, it's a progressive. If I look at the distance, what is near me becomes out of focus. But if I try to read what is on the screen, what is at a distance becomes unfocused. It is not a bug, it is a feature. So once you get clear about something, some things do become confusing. But that's why your intention becomes very important. This is what I'm focusing on. By making this blurred, making them confusing, but I am focusing on point A, that is crystal clear, and I'm going to go towards it. Once I reach that part, then I'll say, thank you, God, and thank you for the gratitude and grace in my life. Now, I'm ready to take on a next goal. And then some things become clearer, which are related to that goal. Some other things which were clear, they become confusing or out of focus. So I'm saying that it is important to recognize that what you focused on, if they become confusing, that means you need to learn more or you need to ask. But if other things which were clear became confusing, but what you need to work on becomes clear, you say, that is wonderful. Be thankful for that and focus. That's what I have. Anything other people want to add, please feel free to add. Saiji.
Yeah. So, Atulji and Prasad, see, one is that Bhagavad Gita is such a such a distilled and such a substantive thing. And if it is like week after week, one is on a comprehension mode, then there is one way we can approach, and because we have subjects, communication and all that. And Atulji, another thing is that can you also make it additive, cumulative, and and also choose serendipitously or providentially what the next chapter has to that you have to assume, you have to instill, whereby you progress. I think that's the two things. So if you want to purely operate from here, not purely in that sense, predominantly from here, there is a one way to go about chapter after chapter. But if you're paying attention to, as Prasadji said in the beginning of the session, or even toward the end, what is it doing to us? What is it doing to me? What is the shift I am finding? Somebody, I think you only said, or somebody else said about, that more of calmness and all that kind of stuff. Then some of the shlokas will speak to you more predominantly and more, they will come to the foreground. And then we can pay attention to that more, and then probably that there lies this thing. I'm not taking away that we don't look at the other parts, but you'll have to distill and distinguish between what is this 2-3 shlokas or whatever the combination there will enable me to move from whatever shift I am making. Then rest is also on the comprehension side. If we can balance these two, I think there will be some breakthrough or some solution for what you have articulated.
Rashmi?
Can I quickly just add, just wanted to, because what
Please.
Saiji said, I felt when I was going through the chapter, more than what it was, I felt that, it constantly said, I do unto me, remember me, think of me, constantly. And I was like, at one point I got irked, like, I was like, who is this me? And suddenly it struck me that, okay, the one that I am, the one that who's watching, the one who is unchanging is me. And then it kind of brought a lot of peace in me. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
So I found that sometimes when we try to implement some of these things, right, because in Bhagavad Gita, some of them also come across as aphorisms and present in a succinct way. So when you try to implement it, there are conflicts that we feel. We want to do this, but something else is preventing us. Earlier, somebody talked about ideal state versus the present emotional state and so on. What has helped me in the past is sitting with those emotions and trying to understand where is that inner conflict coming from, or the source of the confusion coming from. I found that sometimes when I sit with it, over time, that will slowly resolve and clarity emerges.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Sakshi. All right. If nobody else has got anything else, then I'll let you go and have a wonderful day. If you are in United States, evening in India, and hopefully on Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening for some of you. If you're interested, we can have in-depth discussion on a project or a topic that you are working on. We'll take it further. Thank you.
Thank you.